Okay, guys, it's August 23rd of our associate session. We got a few people that'll be coming on late. We actually were doing this at 6, so there was still some people like used to the 6 o'clock schedule, but I really needed to make it 5:30 for the East Coast people because they're not on 10 o'clock at night or whatever when we go over. So tonight, guys, I'm gonna go share a screen and a couple things. I'm gonna For those of you who haven't seen it yet, I'm going to show a HUD 1 form, what a HUD form looks like, which is mostly it's used in the transaction, and it kind of shows where everybody, if you guys have ever bought a house, you get a HUD 1 on a single family. They don't use them a whole lot in some asset classes in real estate, but I'm going to kind of show it to you because it's one of those documents when you guys are lending EMD gap or doing anything, it actually shows where all the money goes, who goes where, what money goes where. And then I'm going to explain how it works, how EMD and gap are different and because a lot of people ask me, how does EMD, and then I've got the contract I've been talking about for a couple of weeks. I've got that to share with you guys. And then I'm also going to do a capital calculator. But the first thing I'm going to do and this is just informative, there's a lot of people who ask me about raising capital, and a lot of people will be like, "Hey, can I go raise money for somebody?" And you guys, one of the things that you guys are going to do is as you get into your lending business and you start lending money and you start running into people all over. Besides, our associates will pretty much know because they're going to have a lot of, they get a lot of interaction and we can kind of guide them. But if you start running into people that are like in other real estate groups and they start wanting money, I'm going to kind of show you guys some of the things you can and can't do. So keep in mind, this is the SEC had solicited. What they do is that they'll solicit securities attorneys for feedback on what they're going to do. And so a lot of people were raising money for people in charging, and you can like do it like get a referral fee. If you like one of your friends is going to, hey, I'm going to raise money and buy an apartment complex. If you refer them to somebody, they can pay a referral fee, but you can't do it as a business. If you do it as a business, there's two tiers, there's two categories. And one of them you have to really get licensed. You have to come, it's not like being a broker dealer. Broker dealer is like nobody in our group that I know of would be able to qualify for broker dealer it's 3 securities licenses and it's like some experience and you gotta have some financial backing. But there's some things you guys can do. So I'm just gonna show this real quick. I'm not gonna go too much into it. And I did post it. It is actually in the files tab. It's been there for a while. So it's called Finders. So I just want to show you guys how the Finders works. And they haven't officially adopted it yet because you have to imagine that the SEC doesn't do things fast like most government agencies. Although you guys will find it, those have never had any interactions with the SEC, no matter what you're doing. The SEC is probably of all the government agencies probably one of the most friendly when you call their tech support. Remember, their office hours are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Washington time because they're in most of the time their call centers obviously in Virginia outside of DC. So this is what they call. This is still proposed. I'm showing this guys because you can't actually, you're not going to get like, they're not going to come out. They give you kind of what they call safe harbor, meaning if you do it and you see proposed safe harbors, so this is just kind of some of the things I'm going to talk to you guys about. If you want to raise money and stuff like this, this is real quick. I'm going to go over this for like 3 minutes. So they got registered brokers. I just talked about. They got tier 1 and tier 2 finders. So if you're trying to raise money, if it has a professional, you can do it under. And there's some things that you cannot do. Like, so if you are a tier 1, it's basically like it's almost like just being a referral fee like tier 1 finders. So these are people that solicit capital. So everything has to be a natural person. You can only do entities like crowdfunding partners or be associated with a broker dealer as a registered broker. Like I said, it's 3 series licenses, and you have to have it's the process. It would take somebody probably an average of 3 to 5 years. Now there's some white label places where they can white label you. They basically back you, but it's expensive. So you can get ahead. Nobody here really wants to be a broker dealer. So I'm going to kind of talk about tier 1 versus tier 2. So if you're doing tier 1, you're kind of just maybe doing it as an amateur or a referral or somebody. If you're doing tier 2, you can do it as a business. I'm going to kind of show you some of the few differences between 1 and 2. It's all transaction-based compensation. You cannot. And we'll talk. I did post the Form D. Kevin and I talk about the Form D a lot. We're not going to cover a lot more security stuff until November because I got to get the securities attorneys on to talk about it. But in the securities in Regulation D, you can actually pay sales commission and you can also do a management fee. So if you raise $100 million, you could actually charge the 3% management fee. 3 million, you could actually charge the 3% sales commission. So you could, out of the $100 million, if your team or your whatever can actually walk away with $6 million, you can do, and you can pretty much do anything as long as your investors approve it. Now, so we'll talk about that in November, though. I don't want to confuse everybody. I'm just kind of showing you this, just so you guys have a base understanding, and then we'll go to what's more for the class. But some people were asking about this, so I just wanted to put this on record on the recording. Accredited investors and non-accredited investors. So you guys know accredited investors, and I'll post the because they just changed that as well. There's net worth, there's sophistication. If people are recommended, if they're coming through a financial advisor, there's a so I'll post that so you guys if you guys don't know the difference, you can actually just even Google it and they have the current. They just changed it. They just so it's what your net worth is minus you can't include your primary residence. So but to tier one and tier two, you can only work with accredited investors. You can't go find grandma with, Granny Smith down the road with $5,000 over pension money. You have to get accredited investors. There's a process. So obviously, I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm just gonna show a few things. I'm not gonna go into everything. So what you guys can do, this is permitted activities. That's what I'm really just gonna cover. So you guys can see as a tier one, there's not a lot you can actually do. You can actually really only provide investor contact information to issuer. So it's a lot like Casey when he talks about you guys giving a referral to his company for like owner occupied. If they're gonna get a FHA, VA, or normal mortgage, you can only give them name, address, and email address, contact information. That's really all you can do. You can't screen, you can't distribute offering materials to investors. So you can't get your buddy who's gonna raise, $10 million to buy a complex. You can't get his offering materials and pass it on to anybody else. You can actually just give him their information and he can pay a referral fee, but it can't be something that's like an arrangement. You can't have like a contract or something like that. Hey, I'll do it 3%. If you bring me $100,000, I'll give you 3,000 or something. You can do that like once or a couple of times. You can't now. You cannot do that. This isn't changed. I mean, it hasn't been adopted yet. When it comes adopted, they'll actually talk to you about how you qualify for tier two because there's a little bit of process. It's not as hard as becoming a broker dealer. But so, like I said, with tier one, you can't do any of this. You can't find the issuer or the investor. You can't handle any of the customer funds or securities. You can't engage in general solicitation. When we get into November, we'll talk about. I'll just mention it tonight for just to get it out there. A Regulation D offering has two. There's actually a couple more. There's 506. It's in the 506 range. The government always has numbers 401, 506. So it's 506 in the Regulation D and 506B and 506C with a C, which is the preferred way, but you can only have accredited investors. You can blast it everywhere. You can put it all over LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, everything. With a 506B, you cannot advertise it anywhere. And you can only take non-accredited investors, or whoever's raising money, but they cannot basically they have a limit on how many non-accredited investors they can have. And you start talking about like people with pensions and stuff like that. You really want to be careful trying to get anybody's kind of pensions. When you're talking about accredited investors, you're talking about sophisticated, educated people with a net worth. Somebody who could, conceivably they've got to kind of understand that they could lose the money, and it's not like you got some 80-year-old lady who's put her pension into it, and then all she's got left after she loses the money is her cat. Those kind of situations like Bernie Madoff. A lot of people were, and they weren't even heard directly by Bernie Madoff. They were in the feeder funds. The feeder funds had a lot of people that were, he had a lot of people that are direct. Like he had Carl, I forget what his name is, Carl Cicero, who was the big textiles guy who was like he was like $2 or $3 billion. He lost about 500 million to Bernie Madoff, but he passed away. There's a few guys like that Bernie Madoff knew from West Palm Beach and stuff. So a lot of people in the feeder funds were like elderly people who were giving money to like, they're giving 50,000, 100,000, 200, their life savings and their pensions and all that. So I just want to kind of just show this. We're really not going to get into too much of a detail, but some people are asking for it. Like I said, I have posted this. You guys could just download it on your own time if you guys are just interested in that. If you're not interested in that, no big deal. I'm just showing this because, like I said, a couple of people have asked me, hey, I want to raise, I'm trying to raise money and stuff like that. So I want to put this on the recording so people can watch it and they know just go download it. It hasn't been adopted yet, but the SEC generally will give people safe harbor if they follow something that's in the process of being adopted. They'll usually not, if and in that case, generally if somebody does something wrong, they'll get a letter. They won't get like charged. They won't get charged civilly. They'll get a letter, like a cease and desist. And the SEC, like on small deals like this, you guys always read about the big ones. They publicize them. Hey, it's usually the U.S. attorney coming out with the local SEC enforcement guy who's like usually the number two in the local SEC office. Like Denver has an SEC office. They have regionals. The SEC is also one of the most underfunded and understaffed agencies, and they're strictly regulatory. The SEC has no law enforcement powers, so they can only charge people civilly. They can do penalties. They assess penalties. They do disgorgement, which is when they get the money back or clawback. They went after one securities attorney because she had a customer that did fraudulent stuff. There's nothing fraudulent that was done by her, all her work on the offering and the circulars and all that stuff. But the customer was, they actually penalized her for it because they could. They go into, the attorneys all have E&O and all the insurance policies. And she's going to be on one of our guests. I mentioned her a few times. She's a good friend of mine and, friend of the company. So I'm trying to get her in November. She's kind of semi-retired, but she actually, got hit because of a customer doing stuff like she had nothing to do with it. It was already done. A lot of times, securities attorneys are done at certain points. In like real estate deals, they're usually not involved. Like if they are, in a company that has to report, their K1s or all their different forms. I mean, God, there's a whole lot of forms that people, if they have stock offerings and stuff. So I just really wanted to just share that screen. If you guys are interested in it, you can download it. And I have the accredited investor on there. I just wanted to put it on, like I said, put it on the record because people were asking me about it. So with that said, guys, I'm going to actually break into the HUD one, and I'm going to show you guys the HUD one. And the HUD one is it is, obviously it's Department of Housing and Urban Development. You guys can you can download this in the files tab, and you can also just get it off the HUD. I think it's HUD.gov, and you can find the HUD one. So this is really and you guys have bought houses before, or you've already done some deals. You know what a HUD one is. They talk about FHA and VA, and there should be a HUD one and everything. It's usually handled by the lender and the transaction coordinator for the lender and the title company. If you are brokering money and you're doing this with a lender, then you want to make sure that you get a copy of this the day before the closing, so you can make sure. Because you guys can go through, and I'm not going to go through every line because a lot of this doesn't apply. But this is basically the direction to pay, and you guys can see all the stuff. There's taxes and all that stuff. We're not looking to go into too much of the detail. You guys want to get down into like when there's settlement charges and things like that. You can get into broker fees, and they'll have the loan terms. I mean, they're not going to answer in a real estate investment transaction. They're not going to have a lot of stuff in here, but they're going to talk about like change charges that can change. Initial deposit with the escrow account, what daily interest charges are, and what the homeowners insurance. They're going to ask what line items they are. They're going to talk about the loan amount, loan term, interest rate, but there's, like I said, there's not going to be not everything's going to be answered because in a typical situation that we deal with, but they are going to talk sometimes about home business, insurance, flood insurance, if there are any taxes. I mean, people are assuming we're doing subject to, there may be taxes owed. So you guys want to kind of make sure the lender's on top of theirs, but you guys will want to find out there's a couple areas where they can put your different charges. Here's the title charges. You also got reserves, but there's stuff on there that where you get paid. So you want to ask where your lender is going to pay you at. They could put it here in the 1300 ones. Most of the time, guys, it's going to be in this 1300 right here. Additional settlement charges, and you're going to see like 1302 or 1303. And then for me, it would say my company, my own company outside of private money that I do, Kevin, is Nate Marshall Capital. So when I broker money, it's Nate Marshall Capital LLC will be put here, and it'll say what my mode. If I did 3 points and $100,000 deal, it's going to say I'm owed $3,000 here. So I want to make sure that Nate Marshall Capital is here, and then obviously the lender's going to have my direction to pay. They're going to have my direct deposit information, and then they will need to pass that on to the title company. So like I said, you really just want to get your lenders if you're brokering money. But if you are your own, if you become a big lender, if you're doing EMD and Gap, you're not going to have to worry too much about this because you're dealing with the A to B and the B to C on the wholesaler on the double close. On Gap, you'll do a little bit with this. And the lender like Casey's company will take care of this completely. They'll have all the paperwork. Any of our lenders, if they're doing Vizio, Kogo, Ground Floor, Lending One, Rock, they all have transaction coordinators. So in the process, guys, of when you're brokering money, you're going to have your rep. You're going to have your rep, or somebody, your processor. There's somebody at Rock. There's somebody at Vizio. You guys hear a few people like Willie and Simi and Erica talking to Rock, so they all have a rep there. They may even be the same rep. They will sometimes be the processor. Sometimes they may not. They may have a rep that's actually in the broker development, broker management. But every one of the big lenders will have a processor, and that's the person that processes everything and gets all the paperwork assembled. You submit everything to them, they package it, they get it to the underwriter. So it has to go through them, then the underwriter. The underwriter is going to be a stickler. That's what you want. If you're a lender, if you're lending money and you have a big company, you want an underwriter that's thorough. And then it goes to the transaction coordinator. Transaction coordinator is somebody that is they're like the hall monitor. They're the drill instructor. You want them to be a tight, very tight on the numbers, very tight on the paperwork. They want clean paperwork. So the transaction coordinators for a lender is going to work directly hand in hand with the lenders, the title company. And you should be able to get a HUD one. If you're brokering money, your lender should be able to get you a HUD one the day before the closing. So you can always go through this and make sure that everything's right. Make sure that it's, if I'm named Marshall Capital LLC, that's how my bank is going to process it. If it comes in a different way, my bank's not going to process my deposit. So you want to make sure all your information is there. You don't want to you don't want to have your account numbers on here. You'll provide that to your lender when you're brokering. When you are lending, then you'll want to develop a form. There's a lot of ways you can even research it, direction to pay, where you can put your account information, like, your routing number and your account number, and then the name of the company, things like that. You guys, when you do wires and stuff, you're doing a wire. And however your bank wants you to do it when you are, wiring money and when you're wiring money back to you. But this is the HUD one, like I said, and it's really required in every deal. If it's not in the deal, then ask, if your lender's not doing it or they're not talking about it when you onboard, it's one of the questions you guys should write down when you onboard as a lender. If you're becoming a lender, and it's like, then you want to talk to your title company, whoever the title company is going to be. Some cases, if a borrower, if you're loaning money to somebody and they have their own title company, you may want to get on the phone with the title company before the closing and ask them if they do the HUD one or what do they do to account for all the charges in the settlement and where the money's paid. Because this is the money. This basically breaks down everything. The HUD one is everything, settlement statement, and what do they do in commercial situations? Because this is mostly, the housing HUD doesn't do anything really with commercial. You get into some other government agencies out there sometimes, but commercial is pretty unregulated. You can actually sell commercial property without having a license, believe it or not, in some states. So it's kind of interesting. And you don't have to have a commercial license. You can actually be a residential realtor and sell commercial, because my friend Danny's doing it. He has 5 commercial listings in Evergreen all of a sudden. He used to never sell commercial. He's actually got more commercial listings right now than he has residential, which is just weird how that happened. So, guys, like I said, this is the HUD one. You may just want to download this as well into your own files and just kind of go through it on your own time. Like I said, they're not going to, they're going to place a settlement, who the settlement agency is, the property location. These are things you're going to want to make sure you check against your records and then talk to the transaction coordinator. At this point, the processor's out of it, the underwriter's out of it. So you're going to really deal with the transaction coordinator. Later on, if you get to be a big lender yourself, then you got to think about who's doing those roles. You may be doing all 3 of them, but you guys want to see, make sure the dates on there, the place of settlement. You can, if you have to have the exact address, it's going to be 123 Main Street, Anywhere, USA, and that's Suite 101 is going to be the where the settlement's going to take place, the title company or whatever. If you're not going to be there, because guys, I'm trying to tell you, as a private money broker, I have never actually been in a closing. I get, I was, usually I would get paid if it was between Monday and Thursday, I would be paid the next day. If it was on a Friday, I would get paid on Monday, direct deposit. So, like I said, you guys just want to go through here and kind of download and look at it yourself. Obviously, you guys have bought houses before your own house, hopefully. So You got to talk about the deposit earnest money is 201. All this stuff is going to stay the same. Like I said, where they're going to add it into it because they don't have a thing for private money brokers. They don't really deal with this a lot in real estate investors. They're not used to it, at least with the HUD and stuff. So, like I said, 90% of the times I'm getting paid by the lender always, and I'm getting paid at closing. And so it's generally 90% of the time it's going to be in the 1300 section right here is where you're going to get paid. So that kind of breaks down when you guys are loaning money or anything like that, or you're getting a broker fee. In some cases, you have to ask Casey next week when he's doing the 2 hours, if you guys have already done any questions you have about this, how they handle it. If you do a referral fee, does a referral fee get added on here? Probably not. I've never done with referral fees. I've always had broker fees. So that is a question I'm going to try to ask him next week on, what happens when you guys are doing referral fees? Do they put that in the 1300 section or is that paid separately? Because that may be paid directly by the lender and not the title company, which would be rare because you want to be paid by the title company, but if it's a referral program and they're solid, and yeah, you just got to ask what their procedure is for it. But you should always be able to get a copy of this within 24 hours. Usually, I'm going to tell you, it's usually going to be in the late afternoon. It's going to be like in that 2, 3 o'clock time frame. So if you're still working a 9 to 5 or something, it's something. If you got to close the next day, you really want to get on this as soon as you can. You get home. I literally would pull this up and not even if you get home at 5 o'clock, I would pull this up and I wouldn't do anything else, even make dinner or whatever. Unless you absolutely have to for an hour, spend an hour going through this, make sure all your numbers are right, make sure how you're getting paid, because this is not something you can easily fix on closing day. They got other things to do on your file. They don't have time for you to call. Oh, I need to get paid. Well, make sure you're on here the right way. If you're working with these companies that we're recommending you broker for, they've got it. I'm not recommending any company you're ever going to have a problem with. It's when you guys start reaching out, maybe into the 850 lenders on our list, or you find new companies you can broker for, you want to ask them about direction to pay. How do you referral fees? How do you get broker fees? Do they put them in the 13000 section on HUD one? If they don't use HUD one, how do they account for that? So that's just really the kind of guys going over the HUD one. If you guys have any questions, no problem. We can do it now, but I just want you guys to download it on your own and kind of look at it, and then you can, like I said, you can put that on the list of your questions you have for Casey or anybody else. Have a list if you guys are going to start onboarding and you want to broker for lenders or something. Just make a list of questions you want to ask that lender when you're in the onboarding process. How do they pay you? Do they pay you through the title company? Do they pay you direct? I'm going to say I've only been paid direct one time out of 250 plus deals. Everything else is through the title company. And if it's Chicago Title, Land Title, First American, you guys aren't going to have any problems. It's when you get to the companies that you've never heard of before, you want to go through and check them. And sometimes, like I said, it doesn't hurt to call them, but you also want to make sure it's cool with your lender. I mean, they don't want a lot of people calling title companies, and it can get bogged down pretty quick if they got a lot of closings. Casey's doing 7 to 8 deals a week, and so you imagine what his company's doing. So their title companies they probably keep them pretty busy, and it's a lot of times they may be local offices or some cases if they're a national company. But you get like John Hornick at Private Lender Law, who can close in all 50 states. They're pretty busy. I mean, they're pretty awesome. So they're also really good. I like them. So if you guys ever become a big lender and you need those resources, those vendors, I can give you like 10 vendors that cover everything you need vendors for. So tonight again, I'm going to show you one more, what they call, this is the purchase and sale agreement. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. I finally am comfortable enough to post it and discuss it a little bit. I know I still have that same glitch. One of these, go figure that out. So this is your purchase and sale agreement. I do have another one, but this one actually goes into the EMD guys, and you'll see this is what you guys start asking about EMD, and at the end of this, we'll talk about the difference in EMD and GAAP and how you're paid and protected at EMD versus GAAP, where GAAP you're going to have a title company, and you are an EMD as well, but you'll get paid, you get paid different. So we're going to kind of go through this one a little bit more. Sometimes people like talk all the time, so I'm kind of going to talk a little bit, but I really just want to kind of leave a section of it up, and it's several pages. So we're going to spend a little bit of time going, just kind of so you guys can kind of see how it's set up. This is one you guys want to download and use, and you can actually just, like I said, fill in the blanks. You can download it and you can You can make a form fillable. There's some different programs you can, because I don't know what browser you have, or what, system. So you can always go find something that works for that browser. You can make this form fillable. So they have that, so you can have the form fillable right here, and you can fill this in and make it easy. And you can put on your iPad where you're just doing the iPad. I used to do some of my roofing repair contracts on my iPad. It was so much easier when I could have the customer. I could fill it all out, customer sign it, and I could send it to the insurance company on the spot. I didn't have to do too much paperwork. So the opening is when you open the account, you open the file up. That's kind of an obvious thing, but obviously make sure you guys get the buyer. If they got LLC, you get the addresses, what their business address is, what the seller's address is. This is if you're dealing pretty much, like I said, in the files tab, I have a wholesale contract. You want to review that. We went over that a few weeks ago. And you want to look at the A to the B and the B to the C. I'll explain that after this document, the A, B, B to C, for you guys who aren't aware of that. And those guys are getting into EMD and cap lending. So the opening, like I said, is when they open the file. It's title company, escrow agent, closing agent, or attorney. I'm going to try to find the map. I've been trying to find one. It's up to date of states where they require an attorney or a closing agent. There's different terminology in some states. So you guys kind of want to be aware of that. They're always going to use close of escrow, the opening in every state, but that's where they change it. Like I said, it's title company, an escrow company, a close, attorney. Like I said, there's some states that require an attorney. What the purchase price is, and they're going to want to, yeah, they're going to want you to write it out, and they're going to want to also then put the numbers, and then you got earnest money deposit of what it is and the balance of to be paid at closing. So if it's $100,000, the earnest money deposit is 5,000, the balance of 95,000 to be paid at CLE. So it talks about it here. The EMD is to be held in an insured escrow account and held by escrow agent of the buyer's choice. And if escrow closes, the earnest money deposit in escrow shall be credited against the purchase price. If this agreement is canceled by buyer, pursuant to the terms of this agreement, buyer becomes entitled to a return of the EMD, and escrow agent shall immediately refund to buyer all EMD then in escrow. So when you guys are asking, everybody's asking. I'm talking to 75 people, whether they're here or not. Um, this is people have asked me about what happens when a deal falls through or something. If you are funding, EMD is refundable. If it's not refundable, it's going to say that, and that's when if you're lending EMD and you don't sign the contract yet, you're not on the hook. You want to make sure that it's refundable, that it's entitled to return to buyer. And then there's another form that we're going to use. I'm waiting. I think because Casey's got a good one that I think he's going to go over after he does his 2 hours next week. That we have, because I have one too. I just want to see what he has, because his company has a lot of really good, like, they have a lot of cool stuff that I like. So if there's something that's better than what I have, I'm going to try to, you know, get it to you guys. Because like I'm not one of those people that's too proud of everything I have to like not improve it. I want you guys to have the best of everything. So it's just like I said, I'm always looking to improve. So you guys remember that. So you got the financing terms. Remember, most of the time we're dealing with cash unless it's a subject to or seller financing. Traditional financing is they'll put it in here, but most of the time, like I said, guys, it's cash. You're dealing with a lender, a hard money lender, private money lender, whatever, the different terminology, making sure that, most of the times it's going to be cash unless it's subject to or seller financing. And we'll go a little bit of the subject to in September after we do the Labor Day break. We will talk a little bit about, for those guys who aren't in this subject too, I'll try to get somebody who's a little bit more expert, like I'm knowledgeable on it, but I like to use subject matter experts to kind of reinforce things. And, like I said, subject to is kind of some issues with banks, when they call notes due, things they don't like people just being responsible for the loan that aren't on the mortgage. You guys can understand that. So a lot of subject to guys kind of have some, I'm trying to find somebody. I think I got 2 or 3 people that are a little bit more expert on subject to seller financing. We got down, Kevin and I have a 3-tier offer. It's a lot of it seller financing on 2 of the options. So we have that form, and there's 2 documents that go with that. Called the 3-tier offer. It's seller financing. It's in files, so you guys can download it. Keep in mind that you guys want an inspection period. And remember calendar days, guys. Remember what I've said. Doris will know because she's heard me say this about 50,000 times. Business days. and government business days. You can change this. Go and use find replace, save this a word. Go ahead and use find replace and put government business. You can just write it up here too if you have to. You do a little marker or whatever. Government business days. The calendar days work as the default. But guys, you really want to have business days or government business days. And you guys heard me talk about it before, saying, why would you say government business days? You get some quirky holiday like Denver has for naming a guy, I don't know his last name, Quirky was his first name. The guy's been dead for 100 years, but he was like one of the like labor organizers back in the industrial movement and all that stuff for Denver and the union stuff and all that. So they have a holiday about him. Well, you don't want to do a deal in Denver, guys.
I can give you guys an even better example than that. Y'all know what federal holidays are, right? Well, there is supposed to have been a law out there that when Congress and the president, when Congress designates and passes it on to the president for signature, the next calendar year is when that's supposed to take effect. Well, June of last year, they came up with this idea, well, we need to have a holiday. By the Friday, Congress had passed it. The president signed it. Monday, it took effect. It wasn't even a holiday a week before, and the following week it took effect, and this was Juneteenth.
Well, can imagine, guys, that screws your deal up. It screws
So
all your
you
days up.
just use government business days. Don't worry about using business days. Just use government business days, and that's it.
Because it's not going to affect your commercial stuff. It's going to affect filings with like the county clerks and all the agencies. Just keep in mind that. So I'm always going to tell people, I recommend anything you write up or anything, if you got an attorney write something up, ask them to put in government business days. I can't say it enough because that's going to save your ass. I guarantee one time while you're doing this, you can do 300 deals. You'll do 299 of them right. It'll be one deal will get blown just because there's a mistake made on the days or something. It's just really stupid. I mean, how many holidays are out there? And you're doing the deal in Denver, but you're not here. And somebody doesn't know what days are here, and you get on Corky's day. I forget even when it is. It's like, man, you don't want to blow your deal that way. So, inspection period. Keep in mind, this is another part where you guys get your money back if you're an EMD lender. So, calendars from the date of this agreement, inspection period, during which time buyer will have the absolute right to cancel this agreement. Absolute right for any reason whatsoever at buyer's sole and absolute discretion. Upon such cancellation, buyers will be entitled to return of all EMD held in escrow. So if you're lending the EMD to the buyer, and this is going to be the A to the B, let's say, and we have two separate forms, guys. Remember to download. We have the A to B and we have the B to C, and we have the general contract. This is another contract you can use. You can use both of this, but this one gets more thoroughly into EMD. So if you are lending, and we'll have the form for that, in case you probably have it. If not, I have mine. You guys can, if you're the lender on the EMD, the money's going to come back to you. There's going to be direction to pay. You've wired money to the title company. They're going to have your routing number, your accounting number. They have to put usually your business name if you're an LLC or whatever, or your bank to wire the money back. You can do a fee for using your money, even if you're not getting a return. It's frowned on. It won't be honored by the title company. So you would have to have an independent contract with whoever you're loaning money to that, hey, if this cancels, I get like $200 or something like a cancellation fee. It's not going to be enforceable by the title company. They're not going to do that. But if it's EMD, it's coming back to wherever the EMD came from. So you want to make sure that you have an agreement. And you can use my formula. Like I said, you can use cases. You can make your where you have you and your borrower actually signing off on it, and then that way if this falls through and you get your EMDs back to you, the bank is going to honor it. I mean, the title company. Title companies are good about honoring things if they're in writing and they got signatures. They're not going to do a fee. That's like extra. So you get into access to property, date of opening, obviously, and close of escrow. Seller's going to grant buyer's employees, inspectors, partners, investors, contractors, so on and so on. access to property as follows. They're going to talk to you about if it's vacant, if it's occupied, if it's tenant occupied. I mean, it gets into some weird stuff, guys. If somebody's getting evicted, I mean, they probably don't want people going by, and it could be a sticky situation. But make sure you guys, if you guys are just lenders, just you guys are gonna see this, so you guys can just reinforce it to your client that you're loaning money to, your borrower, to try to do things right and try to respect tenants and stuff like that in difficult situations because they're going through hell. I'm one of those people, and people say I'm a little soft when it comes to tenants, but people have lost. It may not these days, especially because of the economy, COVID, and you get people may be losing their house for something or a tenant maybe getting evicted for something that's not their fault. They lost their job because COVID put their company out of business. Things like that. The stimulus money's all gone now. Things like that. So probably they've lost a family member. Could most likely it's gonna be a parent. So we try to just make sure that if you guys are loaning money and stuff like that, try to look out for your borrower, your client, and try to help them out navigate their system. You guys are going to be doing so many deals that eventually you don't have to say, you've been there, done that. You've seen every kind of situation, because you're going to see a lot of this stuff on these different documents you're going to be dealing with. Like I said, though, so Casey's got his master. He's going to have his document. I have mine. So next week, after next week, we'll make sure everybody has a couple different variations of the EMD document for lending. And I'll go into a little bit after I'm done with this form. I'll kind of go into a couple of situations, what the difference between EMD and a gap lender is, and how they get protected each way. Obviously, getting the escrow situation, you guys always remember COE. No matter what you're doing in real estate, COE is always close of escrow. And an opening is like when the file opens, and it's going to go to the fees. We start getting escrow and closing fees. The buyer and seller are they both paying half, or they're selling. Whatever you guys are selling, it has to be checked. Buyer should pay all escrow and closing fees. Seller shall pay all escrow and closing fees. And I've seen it every different way. So there's not one that I say is predominant over the other one. A lot of times people will split. I mean, you'll see more splits in like owner occupied and more actual conventional mortgages and stuff. You'll see a lot more splits. People are doing like, hey, I'll do this, you do this. When my parents sold their house that I grew up in, my dad had to, we had a really horrible driveway when I was growing up as a kid. It was like, man, when it's like shoveling and half the driveway's breaking up, like you hit hit the, Kevin hasn't seen that house except for the street. Their new house has a flat driveway, big one. They could put a lot of cars in it, but the other one had one sloping. It was like an 8 or 9% grade. And in that winter, man, that driveway sucked. And so when my dad sold the house, he split the cost of putting a new driveway in with the new owner. They went 50-50 on it, and that would have been agreed to in writing. So the title company basically would take that money and split it. But that doesn't get into escrow and closing fees. It's just something to watch out for. Just remember. And the good things I like about a lot of the forms I have that I've built up over the years, a lot of them are going to have, you guys can see all the terms, almost like a glossary. So you get in there, you guys can read through a lot of stuff, and it's like you don't have to do a whole lot of research. It has all the terms, all the glossary, agency disclosure. If they don't have an active real estate within that state, if they do have an active real estate license, what the indemnity and the release of the claims are. Do they have E&O? I mean, so I like the forms we have. So I'll be anxious to see what Casey's form for the EMD lending is. Like he's got a lot of good stuff. Lead-based paint, guys. Remember, sure, lead-based paint was set in 1978. There's some forms and stuff you guys can pull up on the EPA's website as well as HUD, and you guys can pull up like lead-based paint. I mean, if you guys are just lending, like I said, it's just good to know. But you guys are getting in and buying your own properties and doing your rental properties or flip. You guys want to kind of, make sure you guys know and tell people, tell your sellers, tell your buyers, whatever. Give them those, research or pull up, make a file in your documents or even on your taskbar, your startup or whatever on your computer. List of government agencies where you can just click it and put it in a document or an email and tell people where to go to get those forms and those disclosures. They're written by the government, so they're going to protect everybody. So we're getting a little bit of profit disclosure. Seller acknowledges that buyer is an investor and is purchasing the property with the intent to make a profit by either renting, fixing and flipping, reselling, and or signing the agreement. So here's an assignment disclosure, guys, and there's equity release as well. There's two forms that I have as well. One's called a escalation agreement. There's also one called a termination agreement. I have uploaded the escalation agreement to files. I haven't done the termination because I'm trying to see if I can find a better one. I like it, but um, escalation means if the price goes up for some reason, it has, the seller or whatever, that they have it. There's a it's like going on eBay. You guys know on eBay when you can put in, hey, I'm going to bid $50, so somebody else bids 55, I'll go to 60. You kind of put that in, when you bid on it, you can have that option. I don't know if I forget if you pay extra for it. I haven't bought it from eBay in so long, but you guys can, that's kind of what the escalation agreement does. So it kind of is a predetermined, hey, if somebody bids on the property or outbids me or something, or, they come along and say, hey, you could have sold this for 60 instead of 50. That way you guys don't have to cloud titles. Clouding titles sucks. Two double closes. If you're going to wholesale, I mean, the A to B, B, C, that's exactly what we're lending. That's what we're doing at EMD. You guys are going to be really knowledgeable on double closes because that's what you are essentially doing on the EMD lending. So there's an equity release. Seller acknowledges that the purchase price may be less than market value and voluntarily agreed to sell property to buyer for convenience to save time and or money, lack of funds to renovate, whatever reason it is. And you guys think about this, think about something you could add to it. Because it's not in here, obviously. What I would add, I would start adding even like little signatures for them to acknowledge you acknowledge it, yes. Remember applying
Hey,
for,
Nate,
yeah,
just a disclaimer.
yeah.
Don't use this in California,
I know
because
that.
in California, if you just so people know, when you do deals in California, if you decide to do a deal and you buy a property and take advantage of somebody below market rates, you
Yep.
not only you can go to jail, they will reverse that wholesale and you will lose money. So
Yep.
don't do this in Florida, especially if you have a document that says that they admit that it's below market rate. Florida is not a nice place to do deals.
Okay, and I know that. So and
Yeah,
Casey's
I just want to make sure they knew that.
okay, guys, Casey's company has a really, he told everybody last week he could do California, and his they have you guys just have to be on next week, but he's gonna have the whole 2 hours and basically turn it over to him, letting him do a takeover. This company's got phenomenal. I mean, they could be our lending partner. Obviously, you guys who got all our brokers, Willie, Simi, Eric, all this stuff, and Glenn, and all those people who can help you guys connect with lenders. But we're gonna try to, get 10 to 12 companies that are like Casey's, where guys, nobody ever has to go anywhere for funding. So keep that in mind. Profit disclosure, and Ari's right. You got to be, California and Florida. I think New York, even maybe even tightening up a little bit. Um, you kind of want to watch out for that. And if you're going to be dealing with, obviously, if you guys are just lending EMD and gap money and stuff like that, this is again where you want to be, what your client's doing. They may have and check their paperwork, because if you're lending money, you have a right to ask for all their paperwork. Kind of see if they're doing things the right way, especially if they're wholesalers, because wholesalers are get gurried a lot and they get a lot of bad advice. And so I want to make sure that you guys know that to ask them the right questions. If you're working as a lender, like you're working with Rock Physio, Casey's company, anything like that, they know what they're doing, and they're gonna, you can kind of, you know, feel somewhat, 95% sure they're gonna have it done right. They're gonna do it according to what that state has done. They've got, shit, Rock's lent up $8 billion. They should know what they're doing by now. Assignment disclosure, obviously, and if you guys, whether people allow there to be an assignment, and sometimes they can say no, you can't assign it. More people should do that, to be honest, because I've seen people, when stuff gets daisy chain, but I've also seen when people get like, you buy a property, the wholesaler sells it, and then they assign it again, and somebody else assigns it. Pretty soon you start looking for the 10% checks disappearing, and then the poor end use buyer makes like 5%, which doesn't help if you start running into problems on, you do 20 flips and you run into problems on 5 of them, you're probably gonna get, you're probably gonna break even if you're lucky. You don't, you can probably, maybe one out of every 20, 25 deals you have difficulty with, or it comes down to 5%, less than 10% profit, you're probably going to be okay if you're able to, only have like one out of every 25. And there's obviously remedies and, obviously representations by the seller. You guys, like I said, on all these forms, I don't want to go through them word by word. We'd be here for hours. So I encourage you guys to even download it, even if you're not going to end up using this. It's just good to know. It's good for thought. And after next week, guys, we're gonna have the Labor Day break. So you guys are gonna have 2 weeks to go through this form. The one that the case is gonna, anything that he's gonna give you, what I'm gonna give you next week. Any of the forms you guys can get from the files tab. And as we're building you guys up in your business, no matter if you're just borrowing and being, just typical real estate investor, looking for funds, looking for loans, where you're lending money, no matter what you're doing, we're going to make sure that you have your business package that actually, of all the forms that I have that you guys can get, we're going to make sure you have your business in a box, is what I call it. And you have all the forms you need for your business. You don't have what you don't need, but if you ever need something, you guys know you can come to the files tab section and get it. We got a lot more stuff that's coming up next week. I'm going to have like 5 other documents plus what Casey's going to give you guys. So again, like I said, make sure you kind of just look through this and, pull it up because you guys we're going to go through this a lot in the second half of the, we're going to 19 weeks instead of 16 weeks. And I kind of screwed up and imagine that already. I kind of screwed up and thought we had 16 weeks instead of 19. But I have content for those extra 3 weeks, guys, and it's good. Next week, like I said, Casey's gonna be allotted 2 hours. Whatever it takes for him to go through everything. You guys can start doing deals with Casey now. If you guys got a deal, hit him up. Talk to. We got some other people coming on, Brian Kramer, some other people. We're probably gonna have 25 to 30 people that have anywhere from 5,000 to a couple $100,000. So we may have 2.5 to 3 million. We got some other people working on some money, working on some other investors. So we are going to be like a one-stop shop. It's like a process.
I just
But
brought on an investor, Nate. I
you
have an
know,
investor. Their minimum fund though is 5 million. Their
okay,
sweet spot is 5 to 10. So big projects.
yeah,
Uh, and the numbers have to make sense, but I have someone doing 5 to 10 and up. So
cool. That works.
yeah,
So
that's
you guys getting to make sure you got the binding effect. So like I said, I love these forms because they go right down the A, B, way down to does it go to Z? No, it just ends up in P. But yeah, guys, go through and you can kind of learn this binding effect, right to counsel with the governing law and jurisdiction. Go through and make sure that somebody didn't put the wrong state or county. I'm in Jefferson County in the state of Colorado, and I used to still be Jefferson County, which it records it. I'm in Evergreen, which has unincorporated. So where I live, we're unincorporated. Okay, we pay less taxes. We only pay like 3.5% taxes, where everybody else in like Golden Lakewood, well, shit, in Denver, they're paying 8% sales tax, which is ridiculous. But that's nice. But make sure you guys get the right county and the right state. You get into some of these places out on the East Coast where they got parishes and what else, boroughs and all that stuff. Um, with the governing laws and all the signatures. Also start making sure if they want, DocuSign, HelloSign. Some places may still want wet signatures. I don't see a lot of them anymore, but I know they're out there where they want a wet signature and then you got to do overnighting and FedEx or whatever. Yeah, and then who's paying for that? If you guys are, so it's kind of just a good form. You guys can I uploaded today. So that's kind of just the generalization. Of course, Ari's got his Muppets. Between Ari's Muppets and is Willie on? Willie's Mr. Furley. We got some really cool backgrounds. So, so guys, I kind of want to just loosely just download these forms and kind of, obviously we're going to build your package. So make sure that you have the exact forms you need for whatever you're doing. I don't want you to feel like, hey, I'm overwhelming or not going through them thoroughly because obviously if you guys are using them, we can definitely go through them on a more thorough basis. Not everybody's going to use the same forms because you may not do the same things and all that. So it's pretty cool. So let me check the chat just real quick. Yeah, and I mean, Ari's right. Some places are lead paint. We talked about lead paint, I think, before you came on, Ari, right before you came on. Because I have a couple of forms where they have the actual EPA's draft thing for lead paint. So that is kind of a generalized purchase and sale agreement that has EMD discussed. And like I said, So here's the thing with the EMD, and I'm putting this on record so people know. When you're doing EMD as a lender, you are wiring the title company. The title company is wiring you back. You're wiring the title company too on the A to B. You're getting the money back on the B to C transaction. So there's a two-part transaction, the double close. So you're going to be paid your return if you're loaning $5,000 and you're getting 5,500 back. You're getting that money from the assignment fee. They're deducting it. So if the wholesaler is going to make $25,000, they're going to make 19,500. Your money's you're getting your money with your return to you.
Hold on,
From
Nate,
yeah.
terminology. I think you used the wrong term. If you're doing A, B, C, you're doing transactional lending, not EMD.
This is
You-
actually
you-
specific. Ari, this is specific for EMD. This is actually what we're doing on the EMD.
Right, so
It's getting
EMD
funded.
doesn't. EMD could be A, B, or C. You could do it either way.
I
You
know.
don't have
Okay,
to
but
have
I'm
an
just
A, B,
saying.
C, D for EMD.
Okay, this is actually what we're doing in the form that we're going over next week has this. So I'm going through the scenario, and this is what
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing with the EMD. It's like because everybody asks about it. So everybody asks about it. So you are wiring the title company. And you are loaning the money because if the deal falls through, the title company is returning your $5,000 to you. Like I said earlier, you can charge a fee. They're not going to honor it at the title company. They're going to give you 5,000 back, but if you're saying, "Hey, it cancels," I'm charging a $250 fee to whoever you're loaning money to. The title company will usually not honor that. But if you are getting your return back, it's coming from the title company. That is what protects you. There will be a document signed by you, signed by the borrower. It's going to go to the title company, and it's going to explain direct to pay, and then they'll wire you back. So that kind of protects you. And it's similar to GAP. The GAP is more or less if you're actually going to be doing a transaction, you're going to be working like what we're trying to set up. Obviously, is having the first position lenders and brokers. And our definition of GAP, being able to go to you guys, the EMD GAP lenders, and saying, "Hey, we need $10,000 to close the deal." Obviously, you guys can loan to anybody. You can hit the general public up and all the real estate groups, anybody you meet, and all that stuff. But what we're trying to set it up is so if you are loaning money and you're doing that program, you basically can work with the first position lenders and the brokers. So you know they're coming to you and the deal's already been processed. It's probably been underwritten. It's approved. It's being funded. They need to close the deal. So they're going to provide the documentation to you for that. And it may be specific to that lender. So we're not really going to have a lot of documents to give you on that because it's going to be lender specific. If you're with a Casey's company or somebody else, a first position lender, and if somebody's a first position lender and they don't have that, then I'll work with them on building it. If you guys are lending money outside, outside of our group, then I'll help you. Then I'll help you get that form on your own, so you do have that form. But generally, I'm going to say 90% of the deals you're going to do are probably going to be through a first position lender who's going to have that all in the paperwork. Like I said, they're going to handle the Rocks, the Kogos, the Visios. Those companies have dozens of employees. I think Kogo's got over 100 employees, not counting their education people that go out and do all the seminars. They probably have over 100. He also has other companies. He has a servicing company. He still has his fix and flip company, and he owns rental properties. So he has that as part of his Lee Arnold, all that stuff. But it just depends on what you guys are doing. So when you're loaning EMD money, it is to title company or escrow agent or attorney, and it's coming back to you. There's never like I said, I can't guarantee 100% safe. I'm going to say 95 to 98% safe. That you're gonna get your money back. Like I said, you're gonna get your return, whatever your agreement is on your terms. You guys can pretty much determine what you want to do. I'm never going to tell you guys what to charge for your return. I just say it really, I know some gators out there trying to get 50%. Like literally, if I'm going to loan you $10,000, I'm getting 15,000 back. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's usury. I think you guys can actually make a really good return and because this is an opportunity for you guys to build your nest egg. And whether you just use it for your own cash, for your own lifestyle and your own wealth and build up your account, or what I'm telling people is if you want to do real estate and you want to buy more transactions, you can use this to build up because you're building up a lot of credibility and knowledge being in the industry, but you're also building your capital so you can start, and then you have those relationships. But don't go, you save $100,000 doing this. Don't go spend $100,000 on that property. Turn around and use OPM. That $100,000 can leverage 10, it can 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 20 to 1. Depends on, you know, and you're gonna have great relationships. You guys are gonna know Casey, like his company does incredible things. You know, a lot of stuff that blows me away what he's doing. There's other people that, you know, phenomenal. Willie's got some great programs with his lenders. So does, you know, everybody's Gwen's got a lot of contacts. You guys can Gwen's on right now, so you guys can ask her. But I mean, with her, you know, background at the Federal Reserve, it's how many lenders and people she knows that she can help you with and she can connect you. So there's a lot of good people coming on. And we want to build you guys up where you can build, you know, here's what we do, what I'm kind of suggesting is that, like, let's say you do $5,000, let's say you have 20,000. I don't want you to go all in and do $20,000 on a first deal or the first couple of deals, break it up. Because you're doing EMD, guys, you're not really having to, like I said, you guys saw my post, $2,000, $10,000. You take 2,000, you know, so let's say you got 20,000, do $5,000 week one, 5,000 week two, three and four. You get in that habit of being able to do one a week. You're not going to do 52 a year because obviously the holidays things slow down. If you could do 40, you know, you do how many you can do. But if you do that over 4 weeks, you build it up and you build that interest up. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, then you can take that interest and add that to the principal. The next 4 weeks, now you add, maybe now you're adding 6,000 a week or you're adding 7,000 a week. You build up that interest and then you do 4 more weeks and you do 12 weeks. Imagine then how much principal, I mean, you can be doing 10,000 a week eventually. And then, you know, that just multiplies your interest. It's going to increase your interest. And then at some point, you can actually, when you actually equal, you know, what your principal was, if you're starting at 20, now you got 20,000 you made, you could either just have the 40,000 or you can pull your $20,000 back. And now you're lending house money. It's like the casino's money. And you can actually just lend that and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And you guys do EMD money. You guys are going to find a ton of wholesalers that'll do these EMD things. The gap lenders you guys will get through a lot of relationships with our first positions. You guys are going to be training. I mean, everybody's going to be training together. So you guys are going to, you know, so you guys are going to know that inside and out. We're not going all into it tonight. Casey's going to do about 2 hours next week, maybe the whole 2.5 hours, and try to go through everything his company does. We come back from Labor Day break. We're going to be, guys, we're going all the way to November 16th. After that, we'll only take them Veterans Day Monday off. And that's it. So we are going to be doing with these forms when I kind of glance over them. We're actually going to be deep diving all these calculators, analyzers, and all these where you actually input numbers. So we're going to be going a lot more advanced stuff and some of the things that we've actually never done before because we've never had the group that we could do it with. Now we have a group of guys. We want to get you ready that you get your first deal in September. You get your second deal maybe the end of September. You know, you do 3 maybe in October, 3 or 4 more at the end of the year. By the time you guys get to January, we'll get the virtual system. You guys can be doing a deal a week, EMD or GAP, and you can just be lending all these deals. Or if you're just borrowing, guys, you've got the relationships in here. You know who the EMD guys are, or the GAP guys are, and you can go to them directly. You know, and you know who the lenders are and stuff, and say, hey, I'm willing to work with. Casey, I'm willing to work with you and help you. You know, work with you and your clients. You know, if you guys want to also broker, like I said, Casey's companies that you can refer. You can do a referral to his company, just name, address, email, contact information. You can also do that owner occupied because his boss's business partner is licensed and they can do 48 states. They can do owner occupied, they can do VHA and FHA and VA. They can do all that stuff. And he can also do a referral fee if you just want to refer somebody to him for, you know, who's a real estate investor. Same thing, name, and he's going to go over how to talk to them. If they don't get in trouble, how to bring them a deal. And he can do California, he can do Florida. They're very well versed. His company is capable of doing every state but Alaska and Hawaii. And he said just because there's not a lot of information on comps and all that stuff. And you know, I kind of joked. You guys heard my joke about Alaska last week when I was like, "Ari, you'll love this one." So you guys know that I love Wyoming for incorporating, and I've been helping. You know, Wyoming's where you want to incorporate, and South Dakota is great. It's probably number 2. South Dakota has a lot of trust,
I thought you were a fan. You keep on telling me California, Nate.
I don't tell you California. Let me finish real quick. So I can get back to the actual people who came here for. So South Dakota has more trust from like overseas than any other state, believe it or not. I didn't know that until I watched a documentary one time. Because South Dakota is actually one of the easiest states, Wyoming too, to start a bank, believe it or not, with their banking regulations. Obviously, that's disregarding what the feds require. But South Dakota is the easiest state to actually start your own bank in, you know, their bank regulations. But Alaska is so friendly. Alaska, in some areas of it, because of tribal and all that stuff, you actually have to physically serve them. So if you have an LLC there and an LLC company like Wyoming Company in Wyoming, they have to physically serve them. So I thought about, this is where you're gonna laugh, Ari. I said I want to go up to like where the Inuits are, and I want to open a LLC office in Alaska in Igloo. Because like, good luck finding the igloo.
No,
Where you have
Nate,
to ship,
you know where
you
we
have to
should do it?
process her.
We should do it in
Okay,
that little part of, what is it, the Grand Canyon, where
yeah,
there's no
that doesn't count though.
jurisdiction.
Oh, okay,
No. There's that
yeah, no.
county, there's that place in the Grand Canyon that no one lives. So even if you committed a
There's
murder
nothing there
there,
to serve. You still have to have a physical location though, and like the
right. What I'm
Inuits,
saying
you
is
get
we
like,
open it over there so that there's no way that there's no jurisdiction there. So there's no repercussions.
okay, you gotta have a. Okay, I'm just talking about doing something, funny. But okay, guys, back to what we're talking about. So I know I had to digress a little bit, just to kind of tell you guys that joke because I was thinking about that the other day when I was talking about entities. It's like I'll just find that Eskimo with an igloo. Good luck, Nobody's talking about doing anything illegal. Everybody's just talking about the funny situation of having to get served. You know, those lawsuits happen. We're in a frivolous lawsuit world. Um, so like I said, guys, we have the wholesale agreement. It's part of the wholesale contract. It's uploaded already. We have that document I just kind of glanced over. We have the A to B and the B to C. So you guys want to kind of look at that no matter what you're doing. If you're gonna be doing EMD, you definitely want to review the wholesaler contract and the A to B, B to C, all that stuff. You want to review it, you want to download it, kind of have it in your wheelhouse so you can understand it. We're gonna go over it again. Guys, believe it or not, the next all through November, we're gonna be going over that stuff constantly. I want everybody here to make money.
Hey
I want
Nate,
everybody to make money tonight. Yeah.
Nate, another contract. You showed them an assigned contract, but another contract people may run into is the option contract,
Yeah, I have
where
that uploaded.
people.
I have,
No, I'm
yeah, we're
saying
gonna.
it's worth mentioning here that that's another contract people may see is the option contract where someone buys a piece of paper that allows them to execute the option to buy the property.
And I
So
actually
it's a
have
little
that.
different than this.
I actually have that in the guide section. It talks about it, and I have an option form. I just haven't uploaded it yet, but
Okay.
I will be uploading it in like September. Guys,
No, I'm just
there's a lot.
mentioning it that they may run into that in the same scenario of EMD or transactional funding.
I know, well, guys. We're gonna be going through a lot of that stuff. Come in September and October and stuff. We're gonna be going through a lot of this stuff really thorough. So this is a cost of capital calculator. You guys can download this. Nobody talks about this. Is literally what you guys want to really start getting good at. This is the first calculator I'm getting you guys. And right after Labor Day, we're gonna be going through this. You guys remember you can be changing these numbers. You can be changing this. So just don't change the phone numbers. We'll go through this a little bit more. There's actually some information in here that tells you how to do it. This is your ARV worksheet. So when you start talking about total capital, what your loan to capital rate, so you're talking about, this is showing you guys the cost of doing business. In your first position, we got a second position breakdown, what your carrying costs. So you guys can start doing these on every deal. And if you have clients borrowing money or you are doing anything, you guys can do this. You show it to them and you can download it. You can save as and give them an actual breakdown of interest, what the interest is, what the points are. We're doing 80%, LTV. You can say loan to capital or loan to value points, what the points are, what the interest rate is. Give them all that number, then you get like, if there's it calculates the turnaround, how many months, also your prep fee, miscellaneous fee. You guys are a lender, you guys can actually charge these prep fees and all that stuff. You can charge that at closing. Don't charge anything up front. Maybe a reasonable application fee, and then if they do an appraisal, have them pay the appraisal directly. Don't ever charge people upfront money because it's horrible. But this gets in the first position and second position, and then you get into a lot of there's a lot of other stuff over here. You guys can kind of go through a little bit of it. Gives you different formats. This is actually pretty simple, guys. So we're gonna actually do this live. I want you guys to bring numbers in, and we'll actually fill these in and say, hey, my total capital is 200,000. What my percentages is. Yeah, we're gonna go through all this. This is simple though. It's only two. It calculates all your cost of capital. everything in this is the cost of business. So when people say, I don't want to, why am I paying 15%? You break it down and you show them they're still making profit at 15%, you know, you beat the property up to privy, you get up to 35% of ARV, you know, you're not having a wholesaler and assignment fee on there. Maybe you're a wholesaler, you can sell that, you can do that property at 45%, charge them 10%. So it's, you know, you could actually then, you know, closing costs, holding costs, you got some of the prep and doc fees, you got the rehab, you could end up being around 65%. You show them, hey, you can make 35%. So with these calculators, guys, you can show how much profit you're going to make, and you can show your clients and your borrowers how much they're still making profit. You know, it's as they get experience, we talked about experience forms last week. As they get experience and you know, the credit, you know, unfortunately, it's not a zero credit game. Casey on his flip program in those 4 states, and he's got the other 4 states. You know, he's got Colorado, Texas, and Tennessee are awesome. I forget the 4th state that he has now, but he can do 4 more states are coming on, including both of the Californias. No income, no credit check, no appraisal fee. You can close in 7 to 10 days on a flip. That's a pretty good deal in those 8 states. You can do 48 states, lending every state but Alaska and Hawaii. And he has all the lawyered up stuff for California and Florida. So, like I said, he's going to have 2 hours at least next week. He's going to go through a lot of stuff a lot. You know, he's going to have multiple presentations involved, and possibly his boss will be on as well. And they can, like I said, he can close a lot of stuff. He's doing a storage unit right now, storage complex. We talked about that on Monday night. If you guys were here on Monday night, that he's doing he's closing a storage deal right now. He's got some other things going on. I mean, Kevin talked to him today, so I don't know, Kevin, if you got any other things that Casey's working on. And we've got like 8 to 10 of the people that I'm in the process of bringing on. I'm talking to them every day. And I've got, you know, and then of course, you know, anybody that's bringing money to the table, we are going to do a thing where we're going to kind of take a poll and say, you know, who's got what, who can commit what. And then, like I said, guiding them so they don't go throw all $50,000 into it once. You know, you got 50 grand, dude, break it up into 5 grand over, you know, 10 grand over 5 weeks, or, you know, whatever. Don't go all in, you know, do 20, 25 deals before you start going in on big numbers. If you're doing EMD and GAP, because you can get a lot of stuff done. You can build up a lot of capital real fast, and that reduces the risk as well. I mean, if you do 25 deals and you have one go bad, you're still doing good. Nobody wants any deals to go bad, but I'm trying to say that, hey, the more deals you do, the better you get, the more experience you get, you guys are going to be making more money. So use this cost of, you know, you can download it, you can play with the numbers. I mean, this is simple. You know, like I said, don't mess with the grain, don't change the fill and stuff. Otherwise, you can change the calculation. That's the calculation. I didn't do this. I actually had a friend of mine do this, so I don't want to screw up the calculations. I was using this back when I was just brokering. So I'm gonna go and save it. So that is kind of a cost of capital, guys. And everything has a cost of capital. You're borrowing money. It's the cost of doing business. You know, if you own a Subway franchise, you've got costs of doing business. You know what your rent is, what your utilities are, your workers' comp. Hopefully, you have insurance for covering, you know, people getting sick and stupid things. You know, especially because you're employing a lot of kids. So I had a friend of mine that just opened a pizza place in Evergreen, and he had hired a bunch of. Well, actually, last night too, our high school football team did a fundraiser. They did a takeover of a bar and restaurant last night. 70% of the profits, and all the football players are servers. You know, they're the 5 guys that are 18 were able to serve beer. You know, it was all parents and you know, people from the community came and did reservations, but it was like the 5 guys that are 18 are serving beer. You know, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're gonna make mistakes." I'm like, "Dude, they did a better job than." I told my friend Craig, who owns the bar, I'm like, "Dude, you should be hiring the football team when you need waiters, when you need servers." Yeah, those guys actually did a pretty good job. I think they raised like $8,000 last night. So that's kind of a couple of forms I was going to go over tonight. And like I already mentioned, we do have some other forms. Like we're going to show the option form, guys. Keep in mind, there's a lot of stuff in guides. There's an option. We talked about options. I don't have the form in there yet uploaded, but I do have a section that talks about lease options versus an option where I already said you got the paper. You've also got seller finance. We got the subject to. There's enough in there, enough snippets or posts that I kind of give you like a basic idea of what's going on. When you need the more advanced one is when I'm going to here's this person, they are the facilitator. They're going to run you through this. They're probably doing it. I want everybody to try to
So,
experience
hey
that kind of
Nate,
deal.
so
Yeah.
your paperwork had the assignment as a clause in the paperwork. What you're going to find a lot of the time in contracts is you'll see that the buyer is ABC Trust or assigns. And that's all it's going to say. It's not going to have that whole clause. It's just going to say or assigns. And that technically is enough because that means that trust is the buyer or whoever they assign that contract to.
I know. And that's what I tell people they
That's
can
what you're going
use.
to see a lot.
Yeah, I know that. And that's what the people can use our forms, and obviously, you know, if you
Right,
guys
but what I'm saying is that a lot of time someone's going to have used a different form and then come to us to borrow the money. So they're going
I
to
know
have
that.
a different form.
Well, the lenders are a lot of our lenders are going to have different forms as well, because I'm not going to be able to go tell Rock Capital to change their form.
Right, right. But that's just for the
So I'm giving
promissory
people a
note stuff.
basic. I'm giving people a basic
Yeah.
form and a basic format. And if there's situations that arise that are different, there are. I mean, God, you guys know how many attorneys are out there do different things than other attorneys. So I'm kind of just giving everybody kind of the basic, and I can't like there's a lot of stuff we can go into huge sections of subject to. We can do weeks and weeks and weeks of it, but in the time we allotted, I'm trying to get everybody to a point where you guys can lend money, EMD gap, where you guys can borrow money and you guys can do deals. Without having to get into. And once you get a lot more experience, you'll, like I already said, you'll find some niches and some things you really, if you need some more support or stuff like that, we've got attorneys you can go to. We're talking to our security attorney friends, and they're going to come on in November, and we've got some resources for you guys. One of our securities attorneys does Grant Cardone's, all of his. You'll see her name all over all of Grant Cardone's filings. She does a lot of stuff for him. So we've got some very experienced people and a lot of securities attorneys. I mean, as long as they're in what the SEC requires, they do different things. A lot of them do different ways of doing things. I mean, some actually like to do real estate. They could do stock and other things, but you start getting into those kind of deals, as a securities attorney, it's a lot of filings. In most real estate transactions, you never have to file again when you're doing like security offerings. You're doing exemption. If you're doing regulation D and you're exempt, you probably never have to file again once you've done you filed your Reg D and your Form D. So it's kind of just the basics of a couple of forms. Like some of the forms, like I said, I do have. I have 3 today that I can post that I can actually give you guys. Just these are some one pagers. I'm going to post them tonight and tomorrow and get them in there for you guys. Just a lot of stuff is in there. Just download it, look at it. If we have to modify it or we have to get you something, we've got it. We've got it in the written network. I'm just trying to not overwhelm people by having people, did so much stuff that it may not apply to your state or your situation. If you're just going to be doing a certain thing with this group and what you're learning and how you're gonna, you probably don't need everything. But I want you to be able to go and find what you need. And then if we have to, we have to build you a business in a box. And we have to get your specific forms, and then we're gonna do that. Everybody's gonna have their own packages. So a lot of it's gonna be in September, October, November, and as people start getting deals, we're gonna be like a lot of your back office, cross-checking everything, making sure that everything's good and the lenders and you guys are making money, on your deals. Like I said, you guys do $5,000 in 20 weeks. I mean, you can use a compounding interest or any kind of calculator you can find online. You guys can see that you can, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but you're going to see that you can get pretty close to what you think you can make in a year if you just invest 5,000 a week. You loan 5,000 a week, and whatever interest rate you're charging, you can add up pretty quick. Like I said, do it in 4-week increments because you're going to have to come in and say, hey, this closing's in. I mean, cases do close in 7 to 10 days. Realistically, plan for 4 to 6 weeks in some cases, as much as. Really getting like multifamily where they give you inspection periods and they give you time, and you may have 2 months or 3 months to raise 10 million, and they may be doing syndication. That gets really complicated. So we're not really going to go into that. If you guys ever get into multifamily syndication or things like that, I'm basically going to do I'm going to do a soft stop, but I still want to. There's still some things I can throw in, but it's going to be referral to Julian or Dean Trowbridge or Merrill, any of the securities attorneys, because you're going to have one anyway, especially if you're the offerer. If you got a client or somebody doing one, then we can also refer. They're usually willing to advise the client or say, give them, a free consultation or something like that. but we're gonna try to stay out of the syndication game because it gets really it can get really complicated fast. Like I said,
Hey
we're gonna do a
Nate,
little bit in November. Yeah,
Nate, if somebody ever has big multifamily stuff, I have connections with CCIMs that we can
I,
really look in the
I'm not.
deal.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about
And
that right now.
and
I'm talking about securities and
I'm just saying, right, what I'm trying to tell you is not only can we underwrite the deal properly and make sure it's a safe deal to lend on, we have we actually talk to use some of the same attorneys that you're talking about
yeah.
to do our syndications and stuff. I'm part of a mastermind. So
Okay, I
we would
understand that. So
underwrite it before even going to the attorneys. We'd underwrite that deal and make sure it's a safe deal to lend.
okay, all right. When that comes up, we'll do that. But I'm talking about just generally trying to tell people first what the basics on securities and raising capital is before they ever. Because some people may never have an interest in it. There's not that many people that really have it. You know, there are, but everything that we're doing right now, I think is in our wheelhouse. So it's kind of generalization of what's going on with those forms. I wanted to clear you guys tonight. Like I said, you want to download that form, and then you want to get the wholesaling contract, and you want to get the A to B and the B to C. That's really important. And then next week, like I said, Casey's gonna have the full 2 hours. I'm actually gonna mute everybody but myself. If you guys have questions next week, you'll want to put them in the chat because I'm gonna give him that courtesy of having it, so he can go through a presentation, and then I'll ask, I'll be the moderator on that, or Kevin and I will be the moderators. So that way you guys have questions for him. You guys heard him a couple of nights, and anybody that's watching, it's not on tonight, guys watched watch Monday night from Casey was on a little bit. He came on about 30 minutes into it. And then also last week when he was on, he started going a little bit basics, but if you guys want to get questions for him and all that, man, this company is doing it's amazing what this company is able to do and how fast they're able to close. And if they can't lend money with their own money, do it with their own money, they already have lenders lined up and people who can do it. So like I said, they can do all 48 states, some at least a component of real estate of what asset classes and strategies in all 50 48 states. It may not be like they're really good at self-storage. If you guys want to self-storage, if you guys know STRs, or you guys that are out there in the real estate groups and you see somebody looking for funding on an STR and a short-term rental Airbnb, just talk to them and say, I've got a guy, get their information and get a hold of Casey. He's going to tell you that process next week. So you may or may not want to do it now this week. The next week, he's going to give you the process on how to talk to somebody when you're just doing a referral, and then he's going to protect you and pay you when he closes it. He's going to do it. His company's going to do everything, and they can do a lot of stuff. And they have investors, they have other lenders, they have partners. And like I said, his boss can do. One of his bosses can do FHA and VA conventional mortgages. So it's very rare where, and that's a good source also for you guys when you eventually have buyers, end use buyers, homeowners. You could refer, you're building that relationship with anyway. He's loaning you money on your deals. You're going to flip it. Just now you can bring in your buyer to his company and then you get some referral. It's just another income stream. It's almost like, what's the term? It's like, double whatever. You're getting paid a couple different times on the same deal. Imagine and it's not as much as a broker fee. It's actually a fraction, but it's like, you go get like whatever it is on $100,000 deal, you're still probably making $1,000 or something. You're just doing a referral. That's not bad. So you guys want to think about that. So like get any questions you have for Casey, watch the last couple videos. We're gonna get a lot more into the calculators, analyzers. I'm gonna be doing a lot whiteboard. We needed to get people to at least, the first 8 weeks, which we just completed, and anybody that came in late, and Greg, you've been in a couple weeks, we'll make sure that the videos for those first 5 or 6 weeks are posted. They'll be in chats, and anybody that's watching. So, and you go into the group guides is where you're gonna have all the written guides that I have a lot of, and it's just very basics. It's like a self-study, self-paced. It's not gonna be detailed enough. You could probably be really knowledgeable off that, but it gives you a little snippets to start getting your interest peaked. And different things like learning options or what a lease option is, really different things from each other. You can learn, subject to solar carry, things like that. It talks about
Hey
title
Nate,
company talk.
I gotta say
Okay,
goodbye. The
okay, cool.
the 9 ring circus is about to start in a few minutes, and I made popcorn. So
Okay, cool.
I
All right.
will catch you on the next one.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Okay. So getting back to that, guys, it's like, yeah, so we're gonna do a lot more, like I said, analyzers and breakdown. But so in the guide section is like self-paced, self-study. You can go in very basics. You see just the blanks in the answers. These are going to be fed into what is going to be the basics of the beginning of the virtual system. So those blanks will be answers. I have an answer key. I'm not putting the answer key in there, but it's like because people don't need it yet. But if you guys, it's going to be like when we go over those guide section, you'll get the answers. Like you won't have to go and look them up anywhere. We do it in a way that, hey, probably take notes and we'll highlight things. When we do whiteboard, we'll sit there and do a highlight. It'll be in bold, and that'll be the word you want to. That'll be the word you want to keep for that. Eventually when you do the modules, you'll have a little 3-question test at the end. So that's where you see those blanks. That's just an explanation. In files, guys, is where all the downloads are. These things I showed you tonight, files. Files is in the taskbar. Those guides. The problem is a lot of people are not able to find the chat. Chats is in there, so you have to kind of hunt around on the page. I'll try to screenshot it. I did a few weeks ago for a few other people. Chats is where we have all the previous videos. I still have to post the first 5 videos since July 12th is when we started this side of the program. So I'm gonna post those 5 videos, and that's just the Wednesday night videos. There's some Monday night videos. We don't do a whole lot because we want the Monday nights to be open where people feel comfortable talking about their deals without we're not going to record it. I may come on to 15, 20 minutes, take out the recording, and it's basically, people can present their deals without, kind of having it on record and stuff like that. That way it's more open discussion on Mondays. Then Wednesdays will be, and like I said, if anybody's watching, you're not here, just, I'll have this up about an hour and a half after we finish tonight. And somebody asked me today, I don't do a lot of the settings. Like you'll see the difference if you see the ones on the public YouTube. I go through and I put the settings like YouTube has settings and you can put tags and all that stuff that's how people monetize. But I don't really do that with these videos. I post them for you guys, the links. No one else can get them. I'll post maybe one at every 10 to public YouTube side just for promotion purposes. But these are private and generally, like I said, 9 out of 10. And they are for you to, if you miss a session or if you need to go back and work. Keep in mind, so like I said, we're going to take the Labor Day week off. We come back to next week. We are doing a lot of whiteboard and we are doing, with these analyzers, we're punching numbers in. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. And then we'll kind of, let's get a lot more detailed, a lot more focus on that. Getting you guys, hopefully, and you guys can do deals right now. If you guys got a deal, get a hold of Casey, get a deal, get a hold of Simi, get a hold of Glenn, get a hold of Chris, get a hold of Willie. Those guys can, get you going. If you guys have got deals and money and you want to start investing now, hold back to Labor Day. That's probably the best situation after Labor Day and you guys, especially after next week when Chris, when Casey's going to come on and give you his 2 hours, you guys are going to be able to know exactly what you can do with him. And, you guys who want to make money right now, lending money, after next Wednesday, Casey's going to be able to line you guys up. And you guys will be able to put money into deals like right away. I want you making money right away. I don't want people like, hey, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And then keep in mind, we actually are still changing the price increase will be September 1st. And if you recruit somebody, I will pay you $500 because it's $1,500. I will pay you $500 referral fee. So you just get your $399 back and you're up $101. So and I send that Cash App because Cash App doesn't charge anything on your end to take it. So it's a clean $500. So Kevin and I want to pay you guys. We want everybody to be like, hey, in a couple of weeks, everybody's got their $399 back and they're up $101. So it's important for me to have that done, and then we'll build this next group, and then January 1st is a virtual. So it's going to be a lot of also, like I said, going forward after Labor Day. Actually, starting next Wednesday, we're going to be probably putting people on mute because we got a lot of stuff we got to do, and so we'll do a lot of stuff with questions in the chat. That's a lot of normal stuff. We try to open it up sometimes, and it's like people have different opinions and things. So, Kevin, do you have anything to add?
Well, not much at this time outside the fact that, we're going to have a little break coming up. I would get as much study time as you can get in without blowing your mind out and get yourself in a position where you can start scheduling everything, folding it in. Because once we get down to the point of opening things up after Labor Day, and then we get our training modules together with Lightspeed, everybody will be able to turn 180 degrees out and be able to do this on a retail mode and be able to go out and get clients, find real estate deals on a wholesale level, and actually be able to produce. That's when things are going to look really interesting, because you're going to see the actual power of what we have put together here, and the fact that it's not really cumbersome. I guess that's the best way to put it.
We're trying to
And
make
there's
it a
really there's no room for egos or anything else. You just go in there, do what you do for whatever reasons that you're doing it, and supporting whatever that you're supporting, and know that there's a lot of other people that are doing the same thing that you can rely on or get together with if you need to be able to get things done. And then syndication within the group, that's always open. We'll have people available to do that. It's wide open. You're not going to have anything really stopping you at this point. The stupidity will fall away. The idiots that you have to deal with on a daily basis will disappear too. It's all about that. So we're looking forward to seeing how this thing floats and what it looks like and how it navigates once we got it out there.
exactly. So let's kind of just go around the room before we close. Greg, do you have any questions or anything? Anything you're working on right now?
No, I think I'm good. I'm trying to just catch up with all this kind of stuff, but definitely eager to jump on the EMD and lend some money sooner than later.
No, I want you to. I'm just recommending getting that through next week. At least hold
Mhm.
back one more week. Then you
Oh,
can.
no, of
Because
course, yeah.
once Chris comes on, yeah, because Chris he can get you going right away. On some of the stuff we're doing, and then we got the whole. We got the. You do want to review those 4 documents we went over tonight, and the wholesale contract, the A to B and B to C, because if you're doing EMD money, you're gonna be working with wholesalers, so you're gonna want to download those and at least look at them on your own, especially over the break over the Labor Day week. Get familiar with those, but yeah, I'd like you to make money tonight. It's just gonna make. I just want to make sure you. I don't want to set you up to fail. I don't give you all the tools you need. That's
No, of course.
Yeah, you got all that
what
stuff
we have them
going
for,
on
man.
in
I
this
got so much
office.
stuff. I got yeah,
So
yeah,
we're
exactly. So
we're
that's
kind of
cool.
excited to see, with all the stuff that you've been able to do on your own, and with the people that you've been able to put together. It's going to be interesting to see how that and this get together and what happens with you, because you're not somebody that sits on your butt. Okay, you're actually one of these doers, and you've got a method to your madness. You're not afraid to share it. You can take a lot of what we have here and do the same thing, and it'll just be interesting to see how it all turns out. I'm rather excited to have you on board. I haven't had a chance to chat with you yet, and I've been looking forward to doing that. So hopefully we can get together in the next week or so. But I wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to welcome you and, really appreciate you for being available and actually seeing this for what it is. It makes an awful lot of difference. Having independent verification of the facts, which is something that I always preach and dare people to do, and then having you available to do just that it's great. So I'm looking forward to meeting you as soon as we can get a chance to get together on the phone.
Yeah, sounds good, Kevin. I'll reach out.
Yep, cool. Marcella, how are you? I know you want to get going too, so I
I'm
want to
good.
get I want to get Doris going, but yeah. No, and feel free, guys, if you're newer, just reach out to me if you feel if you need help finding the chats, because the chats are where the videos, and I do owe the group 5. I mean, I've got them. I can just I got to just post the links from YouTube to give you guys the first 5 weeks going back to July 12th. You guys are going to, especially when you're getting started, you want to pay attention to entities. We talk about LLCs and stuff. We want to set you up from the get go the right way. And if you decide, you don't need an LLC to broker for Casey's company. If you want to go out and get an income stream, but most of these companies are ask you to have an LLC or something. But start where you can, and don't jump in where if you need to add something, put a thing together. Hey, when I make $1,000 commission or something, or $2,000, I'm going to spend $500 and do this. You can do this in stages. I'm trying to do this from the whole thing, unlike the Gators, and there's other people that are just like throw everything in, get in right now, make all the money. No, my personally, I'm telling you, I'm trying to like, I don't want you to, everybody just to jump right in and throw all their money in. You know, build up, get used to it, get comfortable, and then know, hey, I can, I know I know this, how to do this. I know how to get the paperwork right. I know what forms I need. If I don't have the right forms, I can go to the files tab. We can get you the forms. We can connect you with the people. I want you to be able to make a lot of money, but I want you to also be able to do it in the right way that benefits you. Because like I said, once we have like 40, 50, 60 people doing it, I mean, not everybody's gonna out of 70 right now or something. Not everybody's gonna be at the same level. People would take time off for whatever reason, 9 to 5s, things like that. I want to get everybody to get out of work. Everybody get out of your 9 to 5 eventually. If people and like I said, I always talk to as like all 70 people are here. It's important to make sure that people, their time schedules, their families, children, kids are going back to school. I mean, it's like weird. It's watching so it's kind of kind of an interesting time of the year. But like I said, we're only going to take Labor Day week off, and it's just the reason I'm taking Wednesday off is just I think people just kind of are after Labor Day, everybody's kind of in that, hey, summer is over pretty much, and down or whatever, but football's starting, things like that. So I just want you guys. That's why we're taking that off. Obviously, Veterans Day is an important holiday. They had to take off. But we're going to go all the way to November 16th, and we're going to get a lot more in depth, and we're going to do a lot of stuff where we're not going to have we're gonna mute a lot of stuff because we just need to be able to spend time presenting materials, letting you guys know Spencer in chat. It's not that we don't want to talk to hear from people. We're always, you guys know this by now. If you've been even on one week, we'd like to do the round robin. When people come in, what's going on, and then at the end of the night, hey, do you have questions or anything? We're always a text message, messenger, or phone call away. If you guys need our phone numbers and stuff like that, we'll give them to you. Obviously you guys have them. We're not like other people out there that you only see people pre-recorded. I don't ever want to get big. We don't want to ever get big enough where we're not there involved. Like it says some of these groups where there's 1,000 people in it, you don't ever see the guy that's at the head of it. You might see him once in a while showing off his fake Lamborghini or something like that. I have a problem with gurus. You guys will see him on the first YouTube videos I did about a year and a half ago, and Kevin can tell you about the song I took Foreigner's Jukebox Hero and I made YouTube Guru. I haven't finished it yet. I still need a musician to actually play it. But I don't, a lot of gurus are they're horrible. And so I just basically all the stuff we've collected. I mean, literally I have 7 more USB sticks of stuff I've got, some stuff I've developed, some stuff whatever I've got enough stuff to help you guys with, and we got securities attorneys that are good friends of mine. I know a lot of people in multifamily. Like Ari's talking to this guy. I've got guys that are better. They actually do this, real guys. Rod Cleef, and I can get you guys in touch with those if you guys want to do multifamily. I always tell people, and I'm telling people in the recording, if you guys ever wanted to get into multifamily on a big scale, go in as an LP. Go in as a limited partner. Don't be a general partner or key partner at first. Go in and get your feet wet. Work with Rod Cleef. Work with Adam Adams. Go in with those guys and invest in their deals. Do a few deals before you ever be a general partner. I just went through earlier the tier ones and all that stuff, the security stuff. You guys get into securities, I mean, it's exempt. And that's what I said. I'm trying to have 2 or 3 securities attorneys because they all do things different. Amy Wan is 100%. Each 2 options he has. You go on and you sign up on our website. You send her all the materials. By Friday, she'll have your memorandum done, your operating agreement done, your circular done, all your SEC paperwork will be, she'll get your form, your CIK, your central index key with the SEC. That's your account number with the SEC. You get an account number. She'll have all that for you. She does it all. You just send her all the stuff. She does it. She used to work with Jillian and Gene, Jillian Pedoti and Gene Trovage at Crowdfunding Lawyers. She also crowdfunding lawyers. Jillian left, broke off, and went into her own company. She was partners with Gene. Gene's still in business. Mel Callister is awesome. He's incredible. I've met, like I said, I've met all these people. I've been at multiple conferences with them, so they're friends of mine. The other person is Paul Vincent and his brother. And Paul Vincent also has Psychic Capital. If you guys ever need, he's also invests. So does Merrill. Merrill has like 3,000 apartments. He's ridiculous. And these are great people. They're nice people. They're friendly. So if you guys want just just to hit them up as friends, let me know and I'll give you their names so you can find them on Facebook because they do stuff. Jillian she does a free thing at least once a month webinar. So if you can get on her webinar, just spend an hour, even an hour with her, or 2 hours, if you can answer questions, she's awesome. She does also have a really extensive program that's really based on securities and raising capital, which is a little different. I can glance over it. And I know enough stuff like from real world. I wrote a lot of stuff for securities attorneys. But you want a securities attorney, and Jillian's all over. She did all of Grant Cardone's. I mean, she's been his securities attorney is on like $3 billion of his money being raised for all his real estate. So she knows what she's doing. And so does Gene, so does all of them. So I'm gonna make sure you guys always have the best resources and the best people to contact. And that way, if you're on their seminar, webinar, whatever for an hour, it's free. You don't have to pay them $500 an hour at this time. You can usually get a question or two, and they're pretty good about answering. And they can't answer in that hour time frame. They record them. They'll get the answers back. They'll do it as a group thing. They're not going to answer back specifically. Most of them don't have time to do that. But they'll do a good thing of all the answers, questions and answers. So I always try to make sure you guys have the resources out there that you need. And if I don't have it, I'm going to find it. I know who probably has it. There's a lot of stuff you guys get overwhelmed by. Keep in mind, I did a 40-hour class for my private money broker in 2017, and it was a class from 40 hours. But I took it virtually because it was in Atlanta. I live in Denver. They let me take it virtually, so I was able to cheat a little bit, not on the actual material, but I didn't have to do I got to work on other things in my office while I was watching. So it's kind of different, but that's a 40-hour class, guys, and it's like
it wasn't as easy when you actually had to sit there with all the cameras on and all the audio on.
Sit there with Gary talking for 40 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, Gary's
yes.
awesome, but sitting there listening to Gary talk for 40 hours, man, I was able to go, I got other things to do. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to get all the material you got. I'm gonna take off the recording.